Hey, little bunny rabbits. My name is Joe Clements. Today, this is
Fuck that, bro.
this is my co-host.
You know what I'm saying?
My other part. What's your name there?
Huh, my name's Roxanne. It's fucking cold in here. Get on my feet. Joe, what the fuck?
Welcome to the podcast.
Cut to the music.
What are we doing today?
Oh shit, what are
Joe?
we doing today? We are here today with our good friend Jeremy Miller.
The Jeremy Miller that we always talk about.
Our
This is
podcast
Jeremy.
guru. Yeah. Hi Jeremy.
Hello, Joe.
What's happening, brother?
Nothing, man. I'm just excited.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm on this side of the camera. It feels pretty good, though.
Welcome.
You're always-
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
I think so.
Because it
I
could get
still
weird.
feel like I'm like this fucking chosen one or
You
something.
are.
You
It's
have
like
the
all-
halo, Joe. Yeah. It looks good on you, though.
Does it?
Yeah.
It really does.
My head in the shadow just looks like a pinhead. Hello.
Smooth start.
Yeah.
We're doing good.
Try to cut that out, Jeremy.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to leave all this.
Your skills, bro.
Jeremy, leave this in.
So, Joe, why did we bring Jeremy in
You
here today?
tell me, actually.
No, because you know what? Okay, it's going to get real right now.
Oh, God,
I
here
have
we
been
go.
trying to talk about gratitude
You-
since the beginning of this whole podcast. And then Joe will always find a reason to not talk about gratitude.
Because I
and then
just embody gratitude.
after
I don't need to talk
No,
about
Joe
it.
has a perfect life. A perfect life.
He does.
And he is all, I don't know, what about gratitude? Well, maybe because you don't have to have it because everything is good. He's got a beautiful family. Like, his wife is gorgeous and kind and smart and takes care of him. His kid is like this little fucking light beam, like carved
Light
out of like
beam.
pure beauty, and he loves
He
him, and all he
is.
wants to do is be with his dad and blah blah blah. And then he's got this like every dream happens.
All
He's got this beautiful
right.
thing, and he doesn't want to talk about gratitude. So
It's
then
not that I
today
don't want to talk
we
about
were gonna bring
gratitude.
my idea was to bring Jeremy in to be on the episode because we talk about him all the time, as well as I happen to listen to Jeremy's podcast, The Betterment Bros, and they are big on gratitude. So I thought,
big.
oh, this could be the day we talk about gratitude. And then I get here and I've talked to Joe about it twice. And then Joe, I come in
This is
today,
brutal.
and then Joe goes, what are we talking about? And I was like, gratitude. Oh, I don't remember that.
not my
I've got a
voice.
bunch of questions for
Hey.
Jeremy. And then do not interrupt me. And then he's got a bunch of questions. So I was like, okay, fine, Joe. We don't have to talk
I don't
about
have a bunch
gratitude.
of questions.
Although I am a fucking gratitude person. I made a whole box about gratitude.
I
And
wanted
then we
to
could be talking about it, but we're not. So Joe, take over. Ask your fucking questions for Jeremy.
I just want the rest.
Ask the questions. You know? Talk about anything besides gratitude.
I'm so grateful for you, Jeremy.
This is the
I am
hottest
so-
start to any of your episodes.
Fucking Jeremy, are you on my side or are you on his side?
Am I bringing
I thought-
this energy in here?
Yes.
What is
No,
going on?
it's just fucking, this is what happens. I'm so glad you're here. I'm grateful that you're here to witness.
Yeah.
Don't, the look. You're fucking- I'm grateful for your look.
Get out your questions,
I'm just
Joe.
all fucking gratitude right now.
Oh,
I'm
really?
grateful for it. I'm grateful.
You're probably grateful you're not on the couch with me today.
I'm hella
You're,
grateful
like,
I'm on the couch
further
with you.
away.
You're not within arm's
Yeah.
reach.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'd be leaving this episode
Yeah.
with bruises,
No.
Joe.
Yeah. No, I wanted to talk about why I think the Hulk is a Buddhist.
Oh,
But we can get
yeah.
into that later.
So is
Yeah.
Jeremy big into the Hulk?
Well, just
I like movies, Marvel, and
Oh, okay.
But anyway, I want to keep talking about gratitude.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. I totally do.
Stop fronting now. Now that I've called you out.
No, I'm
or
not
called
front-
you in.
You did call me in.
yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Well, let me crack off with some gratitude first, real quick.
Yes.
Let me
'Cause
take
we-
some of this
'cause
off,
we actually
Joe.
And I'm
fucked up.
just joking.
You know, Joe, this isn't
I
how you
can
bring
have
it.
some more
This isn't
gratitude
how
in
you
my
bring
life.
a guest on. You're supposed to talk them up and say all the stuff they do, and then you say their name. I watch this on
You-
YouTube.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Noelle's intro is
started
so
this.
much different than this intro.
Yes. And then poor Jeremy is sitting here. He knows about podcasts, and if he'd been listening to this, he might have been like, "You guys, you didn't let the guest talk for so long." You know.
I don't think so. I'm gonna
Okay.
let me just.
Okay, Jeremy.
I'm gonna
let's
gently
show the
segue.
world
Let
why
me
you're
get the
so
heat
great.
off Joe a little bit.
Thank you,
okay?
my friend. I'm so grateful for you. Oh my God, this is great.
So, I'm grateful.
Yes.
Okay, I'm embodying gratitude for being on the show today with you guys. But beyond that editing the show for you guys is literally like one of the highlights of my week. Because, I get to hear you guys before the show and after the show, which is an insane amount of fun.
We just brought a part of that on today. Yeah.
As you guys could imagine, that this is kind of how it usually goes before the intro.
It's usually Joe being mean to me, though.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to take sides on this one, okay?
I met Jeremy.
I'm Switzerland.
So
I'm
check
neutral.
this out. I met you, Jeremy, 2 years ago? 3 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
You had me, it was before you had me up at Modality.
Yep.
But I met you a couple years ago, and I was just really happy to know you in the beginning because it was just a comfortable thing. And then we've been doing some work. You had me on Modality. You want to talk about Modality? You do so many things. So I do want to introduce you because you do so fucking much. You do so much for the community. Much with different rehabs, with all kinds of different things, the Modality thing, the podcasts. So I truly am inspired by you. And just your positivity through it all. And it's just a presence when you come into a room, any room that I've been in, it's just like, Jeremy's here. I did a talk the other day, a couple weeks ago at one of these conferences, and I was so fucking nervous. And it was like all these, these smart people. And my good friend Jeremy comes in, I'm like, I know that smart person. He's cool. So it just relaxed my whole nervous system. So I really do appreciate that about you. And yeah, I don't know if that's much of an intro, but I'm really happy to be on this adventure with you, this path. And I really feel like Roxanne and I would have a fucking... We would just have all this shit recorded and not know what to do with it. Is basically what would happen. So thank you so much. And I'm glad you're here today. Talk about the Betterment Bros. Talk about Flicks and Six. Talk about gratitude. And talk about how... That's it.
How amazing he is.
That's a nice intro.
Yeah, it was a really nice intro. And I just want to say that I love Jeremy too.
Oh,
a lot.
Man.
I met you just because through Joe saying he knew a guy that would be willing to help us. And then when we all met, I was like, oh, yeah. And I just wanted to smash your face.
Oh man,
because you're both like professional, but then I was like, why does he want to help us? Like, we don't have money, we don't have any stuff, but you were just like, I like what you're about, I want to be a part of this. And you spend so much time and energy on this and on other stuff that's like not about gaining crap for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just wonderful.
Very authentic.
Well, let me, maybe it'd be good for the audience listening to know why I do that for you guys especially.
Sure.
But I think, having known Joe for a long time and, the mindfulness practice and, I went to the Dharma Punks group for a little while and loved it, and obviously the work you do at the rehab I work at. But beyond that, I'm a huge podcast fan. Obviously, I love podcasts. I love working on them. I love listening to them. But when it comes to spirituality, I feel that there's like this weird dynamic, especially in like media, like YouTube podcasts and radio even, where it seems like it's so high off the ground, And so when I was really getting into mindfulness and I was trying to find people like Joe, but instead I was finding like John Kabat-Zinn and, Eckhart Tolle and these like really big, powerful figures. And, they're both amazing. I'm not trying to disparage them by any means, but it was so cerebral and, like they're coming at it from more of a science perspective. And so they'd use big words and, when you're mindful, the brain does this and I'm like, dude, I don't, like I'm street level, man. Like what the hell are you even talking about? And so when Joe
enter Joe.
Yeah, so then Joe comes in, right? And he's like, yeah, dude, just like sit there, upright but not uptight and sit, feel, heal and these things. And then he said, I want to do a podcast with my friend Roxanne. So I look at your Instagram and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like what I have always wanted is like two people that know their shit, Joe.
Thank you.
And bring it to us.
Smart.
Yeah, very smart. And like the
Joe.
way you guys bring the message of spirituality and all these different aspects of it, it's so reachable. and it lands with me just so well, you know. And I think like a lot of our clients listen to it, and like our graduates listen to it, and it's what they're looking for too. And so for me, I was like, yeah, like selfishly, I want to do it so that I get to hear all the stuff first, you know what I mean? Because I'm the one editing. So that's why I do the show.
Well, that you also have your own show about personal development. So is there, I mean, I listen to your show and I just would like what's the difference, do you think, between what our show is doing and what your show is doing?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I think so. My show's the Betterment Bros, and it's me and my buddy Dallas, and the two of us have been counselors in the addiction world for a very long time. I just passed my 10-year mark, you know, so we have a lot of experience with life, you know, and I think what our podcast is all about is, you know, that we are addiction counselors, but 99% of addiction isn't the addiction itself. It's what led to it, what comes after it, what goes on during, right? And so we try to take a similar approach that you guys do with spirituality towards, like, you know, self-help and personal development, where, you know, we're not like Tony Robbins or, you know, like these big, huge figures that are like millionaires with their Lambos, like, oh yeah, just follow the 5-point plan and da-da-da. Like, no, it's just like, hey man, like, what are you struggling with? You know, and we can give you advice. And so we have people write into the show, bettermentbros@gmail.com, and they just tell us what their problem is, and we do our best to help them out with some advice.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's less spiritual and more kind of broad self-help type stuff.
More the whatever part of this podcast.
It's the whatever part. Yeah, exactly.
But directly to that betterment. Yeah, that's a good, I mean, I guess you're good at explaining it because it's yours.
It's my thing. Yeah.
I
That's
think
Jeremy's
about
bio.
entry too, about access, and that I think for myself, like, part of, look at your hand.
Shame.
The shoe.
Joe's rubbing the bottom of his shoe. Like,
Every time, man.
it's every time. You
Yeah.
should take your shoes off when we're recording, so then you could just.
Don't ever tell me what to do. What do I need to do?
Oh, dang.
I said you should. I shouldn't.
Oh, don't fight
And
you
it was
guys.
more. It wasn't like a shame. It was more just
I
like,
know.
touch your feet, Joe. Ground.
By the end of the episode, I'll be rubbing Joe's shoes, I think.
Yeah. About access. And so I feel like if I can allow access for kind of snarky people who are turned off by a lot of the spiritual culture,
Yep.
and that when I listen to your show, I'm like, sometimes I'm all, oh yeah, this is too bro-y for me.
Yep.
And then I go, they're allowing access to give personal development and meaning. You guys do meaning making a lot, about allowing changes in your life to have deep meaning, which I think the world tells us to not do that, or at least our culture tells us to not do that, which for me, that's a spiritual process of allowing meaning into our daily lives. And then to do it with this very bro kind of, you know, you guys, I think you play it up a little bit too. Like I play up my snarkiness and my resistance. And that's the thing I think I admire about it, is like, even times where I'm like, I don't relate. And then I'm like, oh, but I know so many people who just need this doorway into this. So,
yeah, well, and that was a big part of it was, you know, and we've had a lot of people, you know, reach out and tell us, like, women and men, that they appreciate that we, you know, because like Joe says a lot, like, you know, for a long time, both of us were very like machismo, like, yeah, we're bros, dude. And like, yeah, we're tough. We got tattoos, you know. But the truth of it is that we're both very emotionally tuned in. And so a lot of the culture of the show and, you know, any project that I work on, I want to make sure that it emotionally resonates. And so I think, you know, for me and Dallas with the Betterment Bros, it was like, yeah, let's make it cool to be feeling our feelings and talking about our feelings, because like we're cool dudes, you know, but all we talk about is like emotions and life and strategy and, you know, thoughts. And so our whole thing is, you know, reframing perspective to regain control over life, emotions, situations, what have you. Yeah. And that's kind of the...
And be better.
And be better.
And
that's right. We're not going for perfect. We're just going for better.
Dallas is a cool dude for sure.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
He gets a little wild, but...
Speaking of what just happened there, I think that you guys should have a contest or some sort of thing about or a like hydration challenge where we drink water every time you say dude.
Oh my gosh. You would be so hydrated.
I was doing it on the drive. I was listening to your Thanksgiving episode on the drive up here and I was trying, I got the idea and I was like, okay, just take a sip every time they say dude.
Man.
But you guys
take
say
a breath.
Or a breath.
Follow
You'd be
the breath
hyperventilating, especially on that episode. There were so many dudes. Or to have it be like the first person who can accurately tell us the tally of dudes for each episode gets something.
What was that? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It would have been so. I think
that's a brilliant idea.
What's that movie where the two dudes got tattoos and it's like, what's your tattoo say?
Oh, dude, where's
what's
my
your
car?
Tattoo say? Bro, dude. Bro.
Yeah.
That's like on their back. That's dude. Yeah. One has dude. One has bro.
Yeah. That's dude. Where's my car?
Dude, where's my car?
And the other podcast is Flicks and Six.
Yeah.
So then this segued into it because he knows everything about movies.
I love movies.
I want to go back to the bro thing because we do have a lot of conversations with this. And for me, when I was getting into spirituality and really getting in touch with this inner goodness that I thought I know that I tapped into, the sensitivity, which I held back for a long time because I was scared to show that because I thought I had. I mean, I grew up in Santa Cruz, the punk scene, the skateboard scene, surf scene. It was very bro-y. So I needed to, there's a lot of masks that I was wearing. So when I started tapping into and really trusting the sensitive part of me, I'm like, oh, this is fucking beautiful, and resting in it. And it was like more connection and stuff. So I was like pushing away the bro part of me. So it was really interesting to like, no, why can't I be a sensitive bro?
Right.
Why can't I be a model for that? Where it's like, yeah, you can be both, but not being the asshole part of a bro. You know what I mean? But be I don't want to use the word woke or whatever, but just still being on this path of spirituality, of inner whatever, and still being awake to everything, but still have my bro.
Well, yeah, and I think like,
still have my bro. That sounded weird.
The thing with like the Spiritual AF or whatever podcast is that you guys are taking spirituality that's so often held in this really like what you guys say, the woo-woo shit and and you make it not about that, but about the internal process. Yeah. And that's what I love so much about this show is that it's stuff that, if I'm not going to listen to people that I don't jive with, that I don't connect with, and like we're jiving, right? and so when you guys talked about like dukkha and that whole episode, it was like, man, this is such a great way to receive this message for me, and I know for so many people that listen. And so for the Betterment Bros, what we have found is that getting to this place where we're at now was a spiritual journey for us both. Through like mindfulness, especially like your groups, Joe, and like reading tons of books. We're always reading books together. And we talked about it on our most recent episode that the way we come to these conversations is by having them in the first place, And so we're kind of trying to take the bro culture from where it's been for a long time and basically just kind of flip it a little bit and say, hey, like, dude, we're bros, but like we're feeling, and we can like talk about life and not be like, because for so long that was like my thing too, where it's like, yeah, I want to like bro out with my bros, right, and be like, guys, like, hey, what's life mean, and they're like, dude, fuck that, what are you talking? No, dude, like, we're gonna
be
go
that voice. I think we can be that voice to where there is a negative part of the bro culture. There's a huge negative part. So if I can be like kind of a beacon or a different voice in that, I think it's great. I go to my groups in Santa Cruz, like I've had some people from my past come in. I'm like, holy shit, this dude's here.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I want to tap into, because for me, like spirituality, it kept me away from, because I'm like, oh, I ain't that hippie shit.
Yeah.
There's that, whatever. And I come to find out I'm a total fucking hippie.
Right.
And a bro. You know what I mean? Whatever it is. And
Right.
it's just what, but at the same time, when I started really, like I was saying, I was getting in touch with this other part of me, the sensitive part, or just, the spiritual part, my life, my path. I thought I had to get rid of all that shit, the bro or the whatever. And like, it was like kind of this, it was a little bit clunky for me. So I'm really coming towards like the middle path.
Yeah.
What's in the
Adapting.
middle?
Yeah.
Right in the middle. It doesn't have to be all or none. There's so many nuances.
Right.
I have a truck that has big tires on it.
Right.
But then I have like a little altar on the
dashboard.
dashboard with, like my meditation beads.
Yeah.
It's like, cool.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like I had a bunch of demon tattoos because I thought they're punk. Now I have some mandala tattoos with those demons. It's
Right.
like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just that perception kind of thing. But I think more than the outside perception, it's what's going on internally with me.
Yeah, and
not trying to be one thing or another.
Right.
It's just being with
Yeah, and I love, when I see like in culture and social media and podcasts, I love it when there's like a polarity almost, right? Like where like some of my favorite screamo bands, right? Like the screamer is like wearing a polo tucked into like nice pants and no tattoos, like preppy hair, and I love that like contradictory feel, and so I love it when like when I listen to the Spiritual AF or whatever podcast, right, and it's like spirituality but like talking about poop and saying fuck a bunch, and like they don't usually go together, and so with us it was like, yeah, like we're bros like to the max, but also like tell me what you're feeling right now and let's talk about it, so I think that's kind of there's the pitch.
What do you feel about all this, Roxanne? This bro talk. There's been a lot of bro going on right now.
Yeah. Well, with the bro culture, I have a real hard time with it. And I said because that's my thing. You should do a drinking game.
Okay. If you say I can rub my shoe.
All right. And I'll just be saying dude the whole time. So.
Yeah, just
you say dude, you say I rub my shoe.
And just use discernment, Joe. And like the middle way.
Yeah.
Middle crack.
Yeah. Middle crack. But I am a woman that part of how I navigated, that's another word we use a lot, culture, and I can't stop thinking about all the things I'm saying. But I was so really far. I did bro culture well as a woman. I can talk more shit. I can get grosser than anybody. I was, training as an auto mechanic. I liked hardcore music. And so I actually was doing okay in that culture externally. Right. And so and part of me is like, I like it. I mean, I'm natural like that. But I think with what you guys are talking about is actually that there's loud voices that are easily heard in cultures. And so taking the idea of masculinity and being brothers, and bro culture and saying, and like, it's like, you're not actually finding a middle path out of it. It's like actually identifying what it truly is. And that my experience is that men and masculinity, it's like, it doesn't mean that you're not sensitive. It means that the world has said that that's what it is, but that most men, you get them alone and you get them like safe, that they are sensitive. For sure. That about positive masculinity is about showing up and having real values and being consistently bettering oneself and consistently checking in to see what their impact is on the world and on their families. And that is actually a masculine trait. And so I think that that we equate it to like being more feminine, but actually it's masculinity. It's just not like a ugly lie, toxic thing. Yeah. And that the way that the like without consciousness and without effort, we will go to the toxic end. That's, I think, I consistently see is that I have quick access to the toxicity without thinking. And that with this thing that you guys are doing with bro culture is to take the language and the not having to put on a different voice to talk about about it. You guys, it's like you guys are sitting together, just being able to be like, you know, like, yeah, we're fuckheads, we're bros, we're doing our thing. Like for me, it's fuckhead. I love the word fuckhead because it gives me permission, and it's that part of me that can relax and the part of me that's tender when I'm like, oh, I'm a fuckhead.
Yeah.
And for the bro thing, I think you guys do that to where then a guy could come in, or a person, not even what gender they identify as, but to go, I can still say dude all the time.
Yep.
And have things really matter to me.
Yeah, I think, wow, I'm going to let you sum us up from now on. That's like really it. But, you know, and
that's how it rolls in here.
yeah.
I'll go, blah, 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 and she goes, yeah,
It brings it in.
But what you're saying too, I think with all the, like any kind of stuff that we're doing, like, as men, as white, I always say this, white cisgendered male, anything, because I am waking up to a lot of like the fucking inequality in this world. You know, it's always been like, yeah, but I'm one of the good, you know, males or good white dudes, you know, and that's just such a fucking bypass. So the best thing that we can do for me as a male, as a white dude, is call my brothers and sisters in. That's what I mean is like for being a feminist activist, I think is, okay, I need to be with my bros and be an advocate, be an ally with my bros, and be more of a beacon of knowledge, not knowledge, I don't know what the word is, but rather than just telling Roxanne, like, I'm a total feminist, I'm with you. It's like, yeah, go get your boy. You know what I mean? That's what I need to do. You know, even with race. It's not telling people of color that, oh yeah, I got your back, look at me. You know, it's like, no, go with my race and be an advocate for the injustices in this world. I feel like that's where my work is, within the bro culture, within the white culture, you know, and then I'm an ally. I feel, you know, and because I don't need to prove anything, you know, but that's where the work needs to be done.
Yeah, definitely.
Within my, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate that from the beginning. I mean, you and I would meet for business meetings, and it would quickly turn into
Every time
discussions either about, you know, like either about your personal life, or I would just be like, oh gosh, I'm like fucking with Jeremy, because it's like that thing in me comes out where I'm like wanting to jump in the middle, and you know, and then the other thing though is talking about feminism and white supremacy that we consistently, and you are so like, you're so open to ask questions and challenge, but in a way too that is like you're open to hearing it and digesting it and thinking about it. That to me is positive masculinity.
Yeah, and that's honestly, that's like the whole show really is, you know, because surprisingly the majority of our audience is women. And you know, and I was at a dinner a couple of weeks back for like Friendsgiving or whatever, and one of my dearest friends, she said, you know, my sister and a bunch of her girlfriends like listen to the show, and they really appreciate the way you guys communicate about this stuff, you know. And the majority of the, you know, the listeners that write in with a problem or a situation, the majority are women. And I found that interesting at first, you know, but I'm trying not to like read too much into any one thing and just kind of like stay authentic and, you know, keep kind of riding the wave. But it is interesting, you know, and I think, you know, I think that's really what differentiates your show from our show. Sometimes, you know, we kind of look at strategy and, you know, what we try and focus on is like practical takeaways. What can you go and do?
The 2-minute takeaways.
The 2-minute takeaways.
That come at the beginning of every show, which is...
That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
We do something called the 2-minute takeaway, which pretty much every single episode that we do, Dallas and I share, you know, things that we're grateful for that happened that week.
Are they always at the beginning? I'm thinking I might... Okay.
Always, yeah. And what we're trying to cultivate there is like... you know, a culture that's where it's cool to share things that are good in your life, you know. And I think, you know, to segue into gratitude, that's like one of the...
This is not the gratitude episode. I just want to be very clear.
It's not.
We're going to do a whole episode on gratitude.
I know.
This is the Jeremy
This turned
episode.
into something else. She's still going to make me talk about fucking gratitude.
Yeah, but I'm going to drop some gratitude, though.
Okay,
Go ahead.
do it.
Check this out.
Jeremy, you can do whatever you want.
All right, I'm going to ride with this. So, when we do the 2-minute takeaways, because what we found with our clients, and we do a lot of gratitude work at our program, journaling, gratitude exercises, daily reflections, things like that. But I think where gratitude kind of shifted into like the Google buzzword realm is where it's like, it's almost like a negative to not be grateful enough. And so it's like, with the 2-minute takeaways, what we're trying to say is that like, it doesn't have to be a journal. It doesn't have to be like, it's just like, hey, like, what went well today for you? Or like what my girlfriend and I do every night before bed is we say, what brought you joy today? Right? So you have to, you look back and you say, wow, like so much of the day brought me joy today, and with the 2-minute takeaways, what we want is a way to start the show in a space of gratitude, a space of vulnerability and openness, but also showing people that like, even if nobody listened, we'd still be doing that because it's important for us, because we deal with a lot of, not negative emotions, but difficult, less pleasant emotions, and especially in the work we do with substance abuse, it's like, man, I mean, there could be a lot to be bumming out about, but without those 2-minute takeaways, like you're in the dark a lot. And so, that's how that started, authentically bringing what you're grateful for.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I really like that part of your
Some
show.
people call that mudita, but
Oh shit! Listen to Joe over here.
It's appreciative joy. That's a practice. Yeah, it's a practice in Buddhism. It's one of the 4 Brahma Viharas, but appreciative joy, and that's
which
Same
would be
thing.
gratitude.
Yeah.
Save it for the gratitude
I
episode,
am. I'm
Joe.
just like kind of reflecting that joy, and it's like appreciating
Yeah.
the joy that we experience rather than holding on to it. Like,
Exactly.
don't go away.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too, is like with gratitude, so often it becomes this thing where it's like, oh, like I'm not being grateful, like I'm less than, or it becomes like, part of the narrative in the story. And my friend TJ Woodward talks about this a lot, where he talks about, authentically being in gratitude doesn't mean like you're forcing yourself to find what you're grateful for. It means, looking at even the difficult situations and saying like, man, this is really hard to be in, but can I create a little space over here for just a little bit of gratitude for something in there, and if you can't, you can't, and that's okay. It's more about the authenticity of it, I think, which is
embodied.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. So, yeah.
And I wanted to talk. I mean, we're getting in there on this podcast. So there's all kinds of stuff that I would love. Maybe we have another time when Jeremy comes on, because there's so much work that you do with TJ Woodworth, who's doing some great work. In the Flicks and Six. So there's all kinds of other stuff that you're doing too.
Yeah, I mean, I just love talking. I get
Joe,
paid to talk
with us?
and I'm like, so that's naturally why I came into the podcast world, I think. But yeah, so I work in the addiction treatment field.
Tell us a little bit about maybe TJ, what you do.
Yeah.
Work with TJ, because that's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah. So
Who's that?
TJ Woodward is my dear friend and author and founder of Conscious Recovery, which is looking at addiction through a spiritual lens. And so the premise of Conscious Recovery is that there are 4 root causes to addiction, and those root causes are toxic shame, spiritual disconnection. Oh my gosh, he's going to be listening if I forget. This is going to be bad.
Get it. You want me to Google that?
Toxic
shit?
shame, spiritual disconnection, unresolved trauma. Oh no, there's only 3, and those are the 3. So we're talking toxic shame, unresolved trauma, and spiritual disconnection. And so,
it's tapping into those
things.
Those are the core.
Those are the core root causes of addiction. And so, I personally love Conscious Recovery and TJ's work, because when I was trying to get sober, I did 12 steps. I went to AA, I went to NA, and I never really felt a connection with it. I worked it, but I never felt like I was getting genuine reward from the work I was doing. And, so Conscious Recovery is essentially working through addiction from a spiritual perspective. And that, when I read his book, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been sober for 10 years and this changed my life, And
How so?
just in that his whole philosophy is that we are whole and perfect spiritual beings, and that life has layered on, you know, to our narrative, to our story, and, you know, we try and navigate through our core false beliefs, but that at the end of the day, we are whole and perfect spiritual beings. And so for me, when I went to AA and I went to NA, I felt very broken. I felt very ashamed. And, you know, in that time, I look at those emotions and I don't regret it. I'm glad that I felt those things because at the time that's what I felt. But looking at it, when I read that sentence in Conscious Recovery and it says, you are a whole and perfect spiritual being, I just felt this ease wash over me, you know, and I was like, wow. And especially when he talks about spiritual disconnection, that is, you know, the connection you have to your authentic self. I had lost that even in recovery. I never, you know, for the first 5 years of my recovery, I didn't know who I was or who I wanted to be, how I wanted to present to the world. And when I read Conscious Recovery, it helped kind of hone that in a little bit. And then I turned 30 and just kind of felt like it all clicked, you know, like, oh, wow, this is like who I am authentically. And this is who I want to be in the world. And now I'm just going to be it, you know? And so I work a lot with him. Yeah.
Does Conscious Recovery have meetings and stuff?
Not yet. No. Okay. So right now, it is just a book, and a bunch of residential treatment programs have a curriculum that is Conscious Recovery. So the program I work at has part of our curriculum is based on Conscious Recovery, and then there's a handful of other programs in Northern California that use it. But he's about to launch a digital experience so that anybody at home can experience what people would experience in rehab in the comfort of their own home. So, you know, for people who aren't really at that point of needing to go into treatment, but they're trying to kind of clean up maybe, it's going to be absolutely awesome.
So can you do Conscious Recovery without engaging with anybody else?
That you can, because the book, there's a workbook. So it's a lot of like journaling exercises and introspection and things like that. I recommend, you know, once we launch the digital product, it's going to be amazing because you get videos of TJ kind of walking you through everything. Because sometimes when you're reading it and you're looking at unresolved trauma, I don't really generally recommend people look at that stuff flying solo.
Yeah.
You know, I really try and get people with professionals, whatever they kind of click with.
Sure.
And so, but like for people that are kind of early on that journey, I think it's a nice place to start. But it's an even better way to kind of polish the work you're already doing, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Roxanne's getting cold.
My feet are
It's cold in here,
my
dude.
feet are dying off of my body.
I always hear you guys talking about it, and I'm always like, it can't be that cold in here, but it is that cold in
I'm
here.
feeling this like I'm getting colder because I know my friend's colder.
Yeah. I mean, the top half of my body is okay, but the bottom half, I have been above the Arctic Circle several times.
And it doesn't compare to the studio.
The studio is like...
You want to wrap my scarf around your feet?
No.
You can.
I want to... Well, we've been going... We could start wrapping.
We've been going a while? How long have we been going? I don't even know.
No, but...
Okay.
So, I like a lot of these concepts with the conscious recovery. But I want to ask you on a personal, like, what is spirituality to you? What is like, do you have like...
Do you know God?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Do you know Rod?
Do you know dog?
Okay, let's get deep.
So
What's your spirituality?
I just started
Jeremy?
sweating all of a sudden.
Yeah. What does your halo look like?
Spirituality.
Would you like to
let's see.
touch the bottom of my shoe?
Yeah, let me just...
You did it! Make it warm,
Joe, there's
please.
something about us. You're
telling
onto
you,
something,
yeah.
dude.
What is spirituality?
Spirituality to me is the journey I've gone on to understand myself better, and trying to process the world in a gentler way that serves me better than maybe how I did before. And so I would say my journey, quote unquote, started really with you. You know, when we hired Joe to contract with us and facilitate mindfulness groups, and I had been meditating for a little while, and but never guided, never like gone to a place. And so when I went to Dharma Punks and sat in some of your groups, I was like, wow, this is great, because I always felt like I fucked it up and like I suck at it. And Joe literally says like, yeah, you can't fuck it up and there's no way to suck at it, you know? And I was like, I like this, you know? And so what it's helped me to do, you know, mindfulness especially, is really just understanding what's going on and not bypassing it as much. Like I was big time bypass. Like I'd feel something uncomfortable and I'd be like, nope, that's not me. I'm Jeremy, dude. I'm like the happy guy that's like in the room, and that's not me to feel like unpleasant emotions, you know? So I just whoosh, shove it over there. And through mindfulness and meditation, you know, I've found a little bit more openness to what I feel. And, you know, like Joe's guidance really like showed me that it's completely normal. And my narrative told me for the longest time, like, dude, everything you're feeling is super weird. Like nobody else feels this, you know? So you're the weird one. And so like through the practice, it was like I feel what I feel, and that's okay.
The
like,
whole of your experience.
But what does it mean to be a spiritual being? And do you believe in a God or a higher power of some sort?
Let me tell you this.
Said,
Yeah.
I am a whole and complete, perfect
Yeah.
spiritual being.
Yeah, I think that is really me in my essential self, beyond my name, beyond my job, even beyond like, you know, all the podcasts. If I took all that away, what's left? And that's just me, like my very basic kind of personality. And I think getting to know that is my spiritual practice, and that's how I view spirituality, is trying to understand all the mechanics of how to be more of me without my story getting in the way of it, if that makes any sense. You know, and I think as far as like the higher power thing, so for the longest time, I was raised Catholic, very Catholic, right? And so a lot of resistance there. You know, I found punk rock and skateboarding, and I was like, later church, you know, and did that stuff instead. But then like recently with all the stuff with my birth family, right, which we were talking about, like the way things happened and the coincidences and time and just like how I found them, it was like, there is something else at play here. Yeah. Something else like way beyond me, way beyond this plane of existence that I can see and touch. And so for the last like month, I've been in complete like...
And just to tell people, the listeners, like I just found
my birth family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just within the last couple months or something.
Yeah, within the last month.
Wow.
And you tell the story on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have a podcast where I tell like the whole story just by myself, you know, so that I can let people in on that. But yeah.
So I just want to say that, but you got back to.
I found them. Yeah. You know, after I was adopted when I was a baby, I'm 33 now, and I just found them and met them. Wow. And spent time with them, but the way I found them was so not here, you know. I don't know how to, and so I'm definitely kind of in a place now of like, damn, like what is going on?
I'm gonna tell you what happened.
Okay, tell me.
You met a witch.
You're more right than you know, Joe.
I know. Roxanne has some superpowers.
Like just for the people at home, okay? So Roxanne and I sit and have a meeting about the Spiritual AF or whatever podcast, and that's on Wednesday. Remember? And, you know, Roxanne's like, tell me something I don't know about yourself. And I was like, well, I'm adopted, right? And then we got into this whole...
And you're like, it doesn't matter. I don't need to find them. And I was like, let's talk about ancestral healing and
Yes,
DNA and
yes.
epigenetics. And could you maybe think about this? And then you were like, I could never find them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could find them.
Right.
And then you...
And then I found them
like
literally 3 days later, Joe.
I
believe
it.
And then when you contacted me, you were like, there's some shit just went down. And I was like, oh, fuck, what did I do?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, why did I say that?
Because I told Roxanne, I was like, I got to tell you something that, like, nobody knows about.
So fucking cool.
And, you know, because, like, we were talking about ancestral healing and all these things that I'd never heard about, you know, and that was my wall, right, to kind of shield from abandonment and, you know, all that kind of those really difficult emotions. I would just say, yeah, it's no big deal, you know. And Roxanne was like, well, I mean, okay, but like maybe it is.
And
Okay,
it seems like it's
Yeah.
kind of started this whole new path for you of a
Yeah.
whole nother connection. And we talk about that a lot with
Yeah.
spirituality for me. And I think a little bit, both of us, is just this connection. There's a deep connection with all of us.
And that
within
is
all of us.
exactly where I'm at, Joe. Right now is like, having met them, like when I talked to them for the first time on the phone, I felt like I was talking to me. I was like, they're me, I am them. Like it's not like a buddy that you haven't talked to in a couple years and you meet up and it's kind of weird for 10 minutes. Like you're kind of easing
And you
back
never
in.
even met them.
I'd never met them. And immediately I'm like, these are my people, And so for my spirituality, the last like 5 weeks has been explosive in terms of growth and curiosity, because it's like, wow, like there's so much at play here that I've never even thought about, And so, I've been phoning friends about it because it's like kind of intense,
And now you're starting a new relationship, a new path.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
But then there's all
Yeah.
these things that are just like far too much to be a coincidence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where the term coincidence.
yeah.
That's
It's
the
a
thing where
real
I'm like,
thing.
oh, that's a coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't
Or
wanna
a God
get into it.
incidence.
Like God, though, is like this puppet,
I
this
know.
puppet master
You
kind of
Joe-
thing. So, for lack of a better word, is that
For
what
lack
we're saying?
of a better word,
Yeah.
when you're just
Whatever.
I'm not into that stuff. But then these things happen, like we
I
talked about last
trust
week, where
that.
you're just
Yes,
all,
I know,
what?
I do.
What?
There's-
How could that be?
Yeah.
And then you just
Yes.
kind of have to leave it there for a minute and
Yep.
just be like, okay, there's something.
But
And
maybe
I-
this is another episode. Is like, why do we have to call it God?
Yes, Joe, but could we just all give Joe a big old hug about the word God?
It's okay,
Like
Joe.
just a big hug. Like let's just hug you while you say the word.
I
and-
don't know. It's just like, anyway.
yeah, but
I trust this connection. There is
Yeah.
something there.
it's crazy, dude.
It's like I believe in something, just not what they're trying to tell me to believe.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, and I think that, like, for me is really like, that's like what kind of dialed it in for me, though, is like, wow, like I'll just give you one example of a coincidence. Okay, is that all right?
A God incident.
Yeah, like one of those, Joe. Okay.
A coincidence.
Yeah, but basically, dude.
Using that
so-
word.
God. Say it.
He's
Yeah.
melting.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. So
Spirit,
about God.
universe.
No, but check this out, dude. So I had a birth brother, right, who passed away 11 years ago from muscular dystrophy, right? Now, the week he passed away, we haven't like quite figured the day because it's a little blurry. I was still under the influence back then, but the week he passed away was the same week I had my one and only suicide attempt.
Wow.
Right? And so we started like asking more questions, and we looked at, their peaks and valleys, and mine matched up perfectly, like to the week, And so you want to talk about connection. It's like, they don't know me, I don't know them. They're in Missouri, I'm out in California, I'm in Colorado, like, and it still mirrors itself,
Well, and the weird thing is that when we had our first conversation, I talked about that, where I was like, that it's like, they're starting to see that DNA is actually in, that we are, I'm not prepared to really talk about this, but that I had said, I have seen that I do healing on myself, and then suddenly my brother is feeling freer and acting in a different way. And there's this not just straight ancestral lineage thing, but there's something going on. And then he comes back with where he's all, whoa, there's this story of like experiencing intense grief and emotions,
not knowing why.
not understanding why.
Yeah.
And then you find out that it's like this shared DNA thing,
Yeah.
which it could be explained in another way, but sure seems like something.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, but never mind. Why does it have to be called a God thing?
It doesn't. It's just 3 letters, and it's super easy to say that.
But it has such a.
Why does it have to be a coincidence universe?
It can be anything. It can
Yes.
be DNA. It's like some kind of connection.
That's it. But that thing that it's like you can't
But
explain.
when you say God, it's a puppet master.
No, that's
Yes,
what
it
you.
is.
That's your thing.
No, it's
God
the-
can be that energy in between the
can't.
pieces of
When
our
people say
DNA
God,
that
they mean God.
connected, the energy that's in between us both, and all that
God
stuff.
is a character.
Atoms. What?
God is like a character.
That's what you have done. We're going to have a...
Okay.
We need
I
a
don't
What the
know,
Fuck
but
is God episode, I think.
Never mind. We could say.
Let's destigmatize the word, because that's what the
But why do we even need that word?
colonization, patriarchy, and Christianity have taken over this word, so we can take it back.
Let's take it back, Joe.
Joe and I actually feel so much love for you today. And then, but the way it's like, and I feel like it sounds like we're fighting, but we're not. We keep smiling at each other. But
don't fight, you guys.
we're not. I don't feel like
I get scared when mom and dad are fighting.
Not at all.
But it's just, I feel so much love for Joe. And like,
don't throw rocks at my bird.
yeah.
Right?
Don't throw rocks at my bird.
That's the best bit. Oh my god. Yeah.
We'll have conversations about this.
I would love a What the
feel.
Fuck is God episode.
Yeah, because I mean,
if for anything else other than
the
perspective,
majority of this fucking world, when you say God, what do you think of?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bearded dude.
Do we just let them have it, or do we take it back?
Let's
Why
take
do we
it
need
back.
to take it back?
Because it's easy. Because
We took bro back. Let's take God back. You know what I mean?
I never wanted it.
I'm gonna hog tie you with this.
Oh shit!
Oh, shit.
What is that doing? We sitting on that the whole time?
No, I asked you earlier what this is about.
You want to whip me
Poor
with that
Jeremy.
thing?
This episode is going to be the hardest to edit ever.
I'm thinking we just let it roll. You know what's funny though is that before I got here, I was like, man, because I'm in the studio, this is going to be like the smoothest intro, smoothest conversation, smoothest outro.
That was.
And it's like the complete opposite in the best way, you know?
Okay,
I
we
don't
should
know
wrap
if I-
this up though and
Yeah,
have
definitely.
Jeremy back another time.
Yeah, I'd
Jeremy
love
should
to.
maybe sneak in, like he like tells his opinion in the middle, like we don't even know about it. He's like, "Fucking Roxanne,"
Yeah, dude.
in the middle of the pod, like
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you're
Quit being
editing.
mean to
Yeah.
Joe,
Well,
Roxanne.
she's full of shit here, and then
Guess
just
what,
go
Joe?
on.
I do
Joe,
believe
what
in
is
God.
God
Suck it.
thing?
Yeah.
Joe, wake up.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this up by
Yeah.
saying I
Yeah.
would just really love to thank Jeremy Miller of the Betterment Bros and Flicks and Six for being
Yes,
our podcast
thank you.
guru.
Thank you.
Thank
Podcast
you.
guru.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
It's seriously so much fun for me. I love it. I love the show. I'm super proud of you guys. I feel like every episode somehow gets better than the one before it. And it's like, and I know you hate compliments, Joe, but
Well,
He doesn't hate them. He
I do. No,
glows a
I
little.
wanted to say this, Roxanne. You are awesome, and I'm so happy to be doing this with you.
Yeah.
And I said something last time, and I said that I totally trust you. And then I said I don't believe you, but I do. I believe in you. So I really thank you so much.
Oh, is that what
Yeah,
that text message was about?
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
He was
Yeah.
listening.
It
to the
wasn't.
pod-
I didn't have a novel of text.
Yeah.
No, it was
The
just
Duca.
I was
one
just
little-
thinking about
oh,
that. I'm like, God,
a little
fucking
nice thing.
totally believe in.
Yeah.
But the way you
Roxanne,
guys, you
I-
bring your own voices and you have so much beautiful things to share with us. And I really, I don't work on stuff that I'm not personally into. And this is like the best, you guys. You're doing incredible work. And it's really, it helps so many people. You know, people like, I see the comments and stuff and it's like, man, it's so authentic. And I'm just stoked to be a part of it,
Jeremy,
you know?
we couldn't do it without you. Like,
Yeah.
if our podcast was a turd, you would be
Yeah.
the gas in the intestines, just
Pushing it
you
out.
know, you're the
Yeah.
gas in our intestines.
I love
I kind
that.
of say you're kind of like the corn in there.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see.
Well,
Yeah, a little bit of Jeremy in every
a little bit
piece,
of
you know?
Jeremy, but he also is that force. Like it wouldn't
Yeah.
come out if it weren't for.
I'm the
like,
gas.
yeah, you're the gas.
And I
Always
got
gotta-
Crohn's.
You're the fart
so
beneath our turd.
I'm gonna wear that with pride. You know?
Jeremy. You're my shart.
Oh, dude, you're so sweet, Joe. God.
All right.
what just
okay,
happened?
we gotta
Perfect.
stop doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. We thanked Jeremy.
Oh, we don't have our
Please-
board.
I know we don't have our board. But please subscribe, like, comment. Comments would be so good. They really help us. And then you can find us on Patreon if you'd like to be a part of our community there. You can get meditations. Joe is offering meditations, and he also sings songs sometimes.
I did a gratitude list too.
Yeah.
I did.
Aw. I haven't been on there. That's so cute,
See the look?
Joe.
If you're
Yeah.
on YouTube, look
And
at
I
that
do
look.
gratitude lists on there. And then we are going to be doing more meta stuff when that podcast comes out.
Yep.
Yes. So just go and check it out. You don't
Thank
even
you
have to pay.
yeah, thank you so much for subscribing to that.
I just
Really,
burped.
it helps
We're leaving
so
it.
much.
That's Jeremy.
We're leaving it.
That's Jeremy
Yeah.
coming out
That's
of my
me.
soul.
A little bit of me.
Okay. And then you can find us on Instagram at spiritual _ whatever, or spiritual _ AF or I said our fucking thing wrong. Just go to spiritual _ AF, and then Joe is at _Joe.Clements _
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Jeremy.
I'm at Germs1138. That's Germs with a Z, because I'm cool.
JERMZ.
Is 1138? Is that
There is significance there.
is that Misfits?
Nope.
What is?
It's a
we
Star
are
Wars thing.
138. 138.
It's a Star
Yeah,
Wars
and you
thing.
can listen to his podcast, Betterment Bros. It'll be in the show notes as always, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then we'll have Jeremy back if you have questions that you want us to let him talk about.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
Shoot
And
it.
Joe, I love you, and
I love you, Joe.
Yeah,
Love you,
you're
Rox.
doing such a good job. And Jeremy,
Yeah.
you are such a big fart. I just appreciate it so much.
You're so sweet. I'm so excited to be the air behind your turds.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
later.